that we're on the unceded traditional territories of the Comox First Nation, and go right to management report. Our seconder, thanks, Maureen. Any questions? Oh, we do. Director Hamir.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. Just a question around item number 2. The report regarding water metering is deferred until City of Courtenay can consider. Just wondering if anyone, maybe the Courtenay councillors around the table, have an idea of how long you think that would take. Is that kind of information easily available?
You know, it is easily available. I could just invite Trevor Kushner to jump up. Do you want to yell it from your seat, or is that okay?
Yeah, I can just update everyone that the Water Smart Action Plan, we received the final draft yesterday, so council will be seeing that probably in early September, only because of the reduced schedule of council meetings, so
okay.
It'll be early September.
Does that
Okay.
answer that?
So then it'll come after that?
Yeah, and then I guess we'll just forward on maybe the report to the committee, and we can have a chat about it at this level. And
great.
yeah, is Comox working on anything? Don't mean to put you on the spot. Sometimes you guys sit with us on this committee, don't you? Sometimes, when you're feeling more into it. Are there any further questions, Director Amir?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, seeing no further questions, all in favor of receipt of the management report? That's unanimous. On to reports. Number 1, Comox Valley Water Management Advisory Committee minutes.
Receive it.
Second.
And all in favor? And that's unanimous. And number 2, water license and water conservation bylaw update. And do staff have anything to share with us on this?
We do, Mr. Chair. Charlie Gore, who is our manager of capital projects, is here to introduce the report and field questions.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. So the water licensing, I gave a verbal update a couple of meetings ago, but the receiving of the water licenses is a huge milestone for the water treatment project and for water as a whole moving forward for the next 25 years. So we were required to get a new water license for 2 reasons. One was that we were coming to the upper limit of what we were licensed to take from our system. So we're licensed for 9.1 million cubes a year. And in the last couple of years, we've been around 8.2, 8.3, but we had some hotter, drier years previously, and we were starting to push up around 9. So we really needed to get a new license to expand our usage, our permitted withdrawal quantity for our expanding population, as well as we needed to get a new water license for our new facilities. Our old license specifically stated that we were to take the water from BC Hydro's penstock, so our new proposed facilities of the treatment project needed a new license. So we received that license back in March of this year, and that was the result of about 18 months of intense negotiations with the province, with BC Hydro, a lot of environmental studies which have been brought through this committee, and it came to the details of the water license really stepped in, and the Section 93 order that accompanied those licenses really spell out the requirements of CVID's usage of water looking forward. And so the predominant one there is that our watering restrictions are going to be tied to the flow in the Puntledge River. And that's really something that has been discussed in camera meetings with the Water Committee, the previous Water Committee back in October 2018. September 2018 was one of the last meetings with the previous Water Committee, where they approved the thresholds based on how we'd been operating the system previously and how those thresholds tie to critical fish habitat values. So as the water is reduced, as it is going to be next week, here below minimum fish flows in dry years like this, that we in turn reduce our water usage to help out the fish in the river. So those thresholds were already approved by a previous Water Committee, and this is the formalization of implementing those thresholds through an order from the province as part of our conditional water license. Those thresholds also are accompanied by target percentage reductions. So we have good data from previous years when we've gone on stage 3 water restrictions, and now some good data on stage 4 that we've recently done on how much water we can reduce. And those percentage reductions are implemented through the Section 93 order with the license. We have put some conservative lower limits on those to allow us some flexibility as we move forward to really hone in on how much water we are able to save in our Stage 2, Stage 3, and Stage 4s looking forward. But it will also allow us flexibility to increase those values in future years as we get better and better at water conservation. So that flexibility, it will really allow us the tools to get the most out of our BC Hydro agreement, which we'll be discussing later on in the meeting. So with these changes with our water license, we need to roll these into our bylaw updates. So the bylaw currently has certain criteria for going to Stage 2 and Stage 3, and there's a revision to the bylaw that is contemplated in the staff report of formalizing those changes that are imposed on us through the provincial water license into our local bylaw. There are also some administrative updates to the bylaw based on some feedback that we've received from the public in past, mainly due to drafting irregularities to make it really clear about the Stage 1, 2, and 3 water restrictions. The learnings from our recent Stage 4 from the leak under the river haven't been implemented in this update. We're still going through a consultation process with the public on this, and there'll be another update coming through to the committee later this year for a comprehensive look at the Stage 4 and what we learnt and how we can implement better revisions to that Stage 4 for the bylaw at that stage.
Charlie, you up for a question?
Absolutely.
Or possibly a comment from Director Hamir?
Question. Thank you. Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Charlie. So I just wanted to clarify the change in our sort of the way that we communicate our drought levels. This is a question that I had because I know quite a few weeks ago the province declared a Stage 3 drought on Vancouver Island, but we didn't. So moving forward then, would we be more in line with those provincial declarations, or are we still at a slightly different level?
We're still operating at a different level. The province-wide drought levels apply to non-managed water systems, and as our water system comes from Comox Lake, which is a BC Hydro managed reservoir, we're much better able to buffer those drought conditions, and so we have the advantage of the snowpack coming into our river and really forecasting flows so that we're on a completely different schedule.
So it's not tied to the puntledge flows, it's tied to the amount in the reservoir in Comox Lake? It
is tied to the puntledge flows. It just isn't tied to the provincial drought level.
Okay.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. Do you have more to?
That's it for
I
me.
have some questions if
Absolutely.
that's it. Yeah, well, I was, three things. Just quickly about our per capita usage trends for water. Has that been changing over the years?
The studies that were done for this were assumed that our per capita would continue as it is now. So the assumption for our 25-year forecast is that there wouldn't be a significant change. There has been a slight decrease. The studies that the forecast models for this were done over a 5-year period leading up to 2018. And so they did see a slight decrease in per capita, but it wasn't a significant amount. So,
okay. Is that something we're trying to encourage at the RD level?
I think I could.
Is that somebody else?
Maybe turn to Chris on that one, but I think we're always interested in reducing per capita, and as we progress with bylaw updates and progressing with water conservation, we're always interested in per capita reduction.
Okay, well, we don't have to get too into it unless Chris.
Just add one thing, and that is that we certainly are we are very interested in continuing to reduce our per capita consumption, and if we are successful, then that license capacity that Charlie mentioned could last us significantly longer than the 25 years.
Right. I was thinking about the extra 5 million cubic meters. Is that the right number?
Yep.
And it was sort of tied into our negotiations with KFN and their desire to have water service in their Southlands.
Absolutely.
Do we have any idea how much water they might need on a yearly basis?
Yes, and that's clearly defined in our mutual benefit agreement with KFN. It's when we did our forecasting, we actually only needed 3 million cubes of that 5 for the expansion of the Comox Valley water system as it's currently contemplated. The additional 2 was purely for the KFN Southlands. That's their
clear.
forecast of what they'll need at their final build out. So there is a provision in our agreement with them that if they get treaty and they are able to apply to the province to break off 2 million of that 5 for their own license if they want it at that stage. I don't think it's a given that would be the way it would happen. Even if KFN get treaty and build out as they plan, they may stay under our license. That's also allowable under the Comox Valley water system. It encompasses all of the Comox Valley land. So there are options when it comes to that, but KFN have the right to break off 2 of that 5.
Great, that's clear. So lastly, if there are reduced flows for hydro maintenance, does that play into our conservation levels?
So reduced flow due to hydro maintenance?
Yeah, like if hydro are doing maintenance and they reduce their flows or.
I suppose that's the beauty of the new project, is that we're isolating our facilities from hydro's facilities. So over the short term, these licenses are going to be, they are very much designed for our water treatment project that won't be operational until 2021. In the years between now and then, we have confirmation from the province that they'll be malleable with how this works between now and then. But once we become operational from our deep water intake, we will be completely isolated from BC hydro maintenance, so that won't affect us.
So the penstock doesn't affect us, but their dam flows do.
Not even the flows out of the dam. Our intake is into the lake.
Yeah.
So no matter what BC Hydro are doing with their impoundment dam at the lake and flows down the Puntledge River, other than what they are able to provide for the fish, we are not specifically affected by any maintenance programs for them.
Okay, thanks. Oh, I do see another question, Director Arbour.
Yeah, since the topic took us there, so in terms of the expandability of the license, let me backtrack 1 second. So you talked about the KFN Southlands. So we have the Royston service, we buy water for Cumberland. That might be good for another 5 or 10 years before Cumberland may have signaled that they may need the water for their own expansion. So I'm trying to get to the 3 million of expansion. And then the second consideration is we currently have zoning in the regional district for a lot of homes in the Union Bay Estates development, up to 3,000 homes. It's uncertain whether their Langley Lake watershed operated by UBID is sufficient. Has there been any consideration given to the potential for that development and or the Royston within that 3 million figure? Or else is there an expandability potential at Comox Lake?
Yeah, I can talk to Royston. Has definitely been contemplated as part of the 25-year forecast. KIP, as it stands, is Kensington Island Properties is currently indicated to us that they are taking their water from Union Bay. So in our models, we haven't taken them into account with this. But if you look at the size of this increase in water, we have 9 million cubes for the 45,000 people that are currently on the system. This is a large chunk. There's a lot of uncertainty with how the Comox Valley will grow in the next 25 years. I think there's a bit of crystal balling there. So there is some safety factors in there for that amount of water. So this is a huge chunk, and this is when you look at potential reduction in per capita usage, that's not taken into account at all in these numbers. So I think this gives us a real boost for 25 years, or as Chris intonated, beyond. We think that we've got this additional water license will last us well beyond the 25-year forecast.
Yeah, especially if we can achieve the per capita decreases, which historically we've struggled with, I think. And then further, the KFN chunk, is that agreement for that 2 million in perpetuity agreement, or is it a sunset clause, or how is there anything that can be shared with this board in regards to?
With regard to
The 2 million cubic meters for the Southlands.
there's the water is assigned to those lands, so was justified by those lands. So, as per all water licenses in the province, it is a conditional water license. So the province reserves the right to, if KFN do not end up developing those lands, province does reserve the right to come in and take that additional 2 million away, because it was justified through the development of those lands. But there's no sunset clause on when KFN would need to use that in any of our agreements with them. But the province may make a call at some point that they don't believe it's going to happen in the next 10 years, and they have the right to step in and take that allocation away.
Thanks for the answers. Thank you.
And I don't see any other questions on this. Oh. All in favor of receipt? That's unanimous, thanks. Wonderful, any? That's okay, as long as you guys have read it. Would you like to read it? Go here,
If I could just,
I'm sorry.
I'm just, we went through an electoral areas meeting yesterday where I think every motion had a legal description on it, and the directors read out word by word some of the legal descriptions. So sometimes the entire wording of the recommendation doesn't need to be read out, but for the sake of the camera, it is good to identify what the recommendation is and provide that context.
All right, Director
Well,
Haley?
with great pleasure, I will read that the recommendation that the board amend bylaw number 129, the Comox Valley Water Conservation Bylaw, to the revised bylaw attached to the July 11th, 2019 staff report as Appendix D, to include the requirements of CVRD's new water licenses and to correct minor administrative components, and further that an amendment to bylaw number 129 be considered for first, second, and third readings at the July 30th board meeting.
Thanks very much. And any questions or comments about it? I don't see any. All in favor? And that's unanimous. And we have a, do we have a motion to go in camera? There it is. Would someone be willing to? So going in camera for section 90, subsection 1J, information that is prohibited or would be prohibited from disclosure under Section 21 of the Freedom of Information Act. And 91K, negotiations and related discussions.